Many years ago, when I was babysitting for my niece, she couldn't have been more than 5 at the time, we were watching some wholesome PBS TV when she turned to me and said, "Let's turn off the TV and you tell me about Earth." Sweeter words I've never heard. Sharing my sense of wonder is a great pleasure, a need even. Today, I am here in part to fulfill that same need, my need to tell about Earth. But in this moment, that is my cats, Earth and Gaia. I found Earth dark as night and Gaia, a crazy calico, known at the time as Cherry and Peach, at the Perfect Day Cafe, where they worked entertaining the humans. They were doing about 5 or 6 shows a day as part of a larger ensemble cast. While Peach worked the room, Cherry mostly hid behind the throw over the couch. As names go, I knew right away that Peach and Cherry were never going to work. I'd named their feline predecessors Destiny and Dream after characters from the Sandman comic book series, and had appreciated the opportunity to feed my dream and nurture my destiny. These two's names needed to be as epic. So today I'm dedicated to the care of Earth and engaging with Gaia. Truth is, I would spend all of our time together today telling you about little Earth and Miss Gaia. I would tell you about Gaia's great enthusiasm and how she propels herself off the wall in this amazing parkour move. And how when you look up close, Earth is not really a black cat. How in addition to a white spot on his belly, there are specks all across his body, white fur growing just a little longer than the rest, jumping out like stars in the night sky. I would tell you about how awfully cute they are at feeding time, Gaia running ahead, full of bounce and a fervent excitement, and Earth turning around and calling out at very particular points along the way, making sure I'm still right behind him with my precious cargo. I could and would go on and on. Instead, I'm going to provide a little context here. No doubt, we've all been through a profound and disturbing period together. A time deeply informed by the pandemic and its many difficult impacts, informed by new attention to long-standing racial injustices, and informed by the emergence of a new age of homespun fascism. We've gone through all this and more together. Our trauma is collective. Amidst the world falling apart, we've also had our own personal challenges, heartbreaks, and losses. I, like most of you, have been through the ringer multiple times. And while sharing my own list of woe and loss is not what I want to focus on here today, at the same time, it does call to be acknowledged. The list contents at least named, not to unburden myself and correspondingly not for you to pick up, as mine is not your bundle to carry, but an acknowledgement of the reality of suffering that is both unique and universal. Since COVID, my story Lowlights have included starting on the 3rd day of lockdown, Destiny, my sacred animal companion of 12 years, died in my arms. Despite the deep concerns of their staff, a nonprofit I worked with and had supported for almost 20 years, one dedicated to teaching others to appreciate diversity, chose the co-pastor of a notoriously anti-LGBTQ+ church to head the search for the organization's next executive director. My nephew, a bright and shining light husband and father, died suddenly at 35 years old. My younger brother, the baby of our family, has faced numerous medical emergencies as he takes on the challenges of liver failure. Just before Thanksgiving, Destiny's sibling, Dream, an amazing beast if ever there was, left this world as well. leaving my home way too quiet and feline deficient. Oh, yes. And just to make sure the loss was visible, I lost my hair. I mean, not all of it, but a lot of it. Enough that I just threw in the hair towel. And actually, I got kind of lucky because I suddenly looked like the seasoned sensei, the wise Obi-Wan I've often pretended to be. Seriously, I trust we all have our lists, and it's been quite a load to carry. We've been through a lot. But you know what saved me, and daily? My sense of self, a place to call home, and Mary Oliver's instructions for living a life. Mary Oliver, as many of you know, is an often celebrated National Book Award and Pulitzer Prize winning nature-centric poet who hung around Earth from 1935 to 2019. She was the author of over 25 poetry collections. Many know her from her often quoted poem, The Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. Calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. So beautiful and so rich. Another favorite of mine from Mary Oliver is Instructions for Living a Life, a very short poem that reads, Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. Instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. In those 4 simple lines, Mary Oliver totally schools us. And she knows it too, right? I mean, she just calls it what it is, instructions for living a life. In the world of nature poetry, it is a mic drop moment, right? If only we'd all come with such a set of simple, powerful instructions. Why is this so right on? Well, I think because her instructions so engage in what is primary. Each of the 3 instructions speak to a core part of what it means to be fully human. I think Mary Oliver's instructions are particularly right for right now because they bring our focus to the natural world and our connections with planet Earth. They invite us to explore the depth of both our senses and our sensitivity. They require us to be in the moment, and because they harness our narrative nature, our love of story. Let's break those instructions down a little bit further. Mary Oliver wrote, "The world I live in. I have refused to live locked in the orderly house of reasons and proofs. The world I live in and believe in is wider than that. And anyway, what's wrong with maybe? You wouldn't believe what once or twice I have seen. I'll just tell you this. Only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one." Now, focusing on that last line, only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one. I believe that in part, the encouragement from Mary Oliver here is to tune our senses to the wonders and mysteries of the world. And this means to look for and expect beauty. Much of Mary Oliver's life work is centered on pointing our attention towards the directions of the wonders of earth, most certainly because she'd already discovered the benefits. She'd already found her joy there. Pay attention Because when you turn your focus towards Earth's beauty, you have the opportunity to fall in love with her in her varied expressions. Pay attention, because as beings with all the necessary tools to do just that, it's core to our functioning and may be connected to our purpose. Pay attention, because when you look, listen, hear, feel, and taste of the world's wonders, you will know their ability to soothe, amuse, and hold you. Pay attention also because it brings us to the most important place we can be, here and now. And that here is planet Earth. Being here on planet Earth is primary to who we are. Earth, the wild mother of all planetary life, is both our source for sustenance and the source of our origins. We are first and foremost Earthlings. As Earthlings, focusing on paying attention to what is primary, Mother Earth, is essential. And getting deeply local about that, focusing on what we can experience directly on what is right before us, may be particularly important. Truth is, you have to be here now or you'll miss it. Turn away and you'll miss the amazing beauty of that hummingbird, that sunbeam, that bumblebee, that wild geese, that fox cub, that strawberry, that spider or kitten. There is that which only we have the unique opportunity to witness. Moments when we are called to be the universe's eyes. Moments when our witnessing seems to complete a cycle. Before moving on, I think it's important to recognize that paying attention is a choice and that the competition is fierce. There are so many things right now pulling us in too many directions, including the shiny baubles of the modern age. We have too much information at our fingertips. The times are deeply distracting. To experience the beauty this world has to offer, we must choose to pay attention and look for the wonder. Let's explore the wonder. Instruction number 2 says, be astonished. We humans are creatures created with incredible capacities. Capacities present in other species, but uniquely developed and expressed in us. Prime examples are awe and wonder, appreciation, fascination, along with the responses of celebration, art making, and storytelling. I think the expressions of these capacities, these gifts, are connected to our sense of fulfillment and can be a place we find meaning. Being astonished, wowed, or awestruck appears to be a natural function of human beings. We seem to be wired for appreciation and fascination. We are especially adept at lighting up over an amazingly wide variety of things and experiences. Falling in love with creation in all her varied forms is natural for us. We may well have a default for both finding and saying the wow. After all, we are the ones who can become overwhelmed with the beauty of a sunset, the birth of a child, stunned by the intricate details of a spider's web or the patterns in the night sky, utterly taken by the play of fox cubs or the return of a favored hummingbird, the sweet smell of roses or a lilac bush in bloom. At the same time, let's acknowledge that without practice, these celebratory traits may not always be easy to access. This is in part because we know that the flip side of all this love and all this caring is heartbreak. We know that to love big is to risk great loss, difficult to do within a culture that has made pain a pathology. So in an effort to avoid heartbreak, we've attempted to reduce the risk by turning away and shutting down. This is a huge mistake. The world very much needs humans that show up with the depth of sensitivity that we came into this world with. Earth needs our hearts to be large and open so we can hold all of her vast beauty and not miss out on her constant offerings. Earth needs a creature like us, one who can both be astonished and celebrate all her amazing work. It appears that all of creation is busy doing their work in the world, and that only we humans seem confused about our role. I believe our role, our core purpose, may be to notice and respond to it all, to stop, look, listen, and say, wow, this is amazing. I've come to believe that we humans with our most particular gifts are primarily celebrants, that we are created and wired for responding to Earth's beauty. We are, in a sense, made to freak out, to lose our minds. Celebration, amazement, awe, wonder, fascination, and astonishment are all built into our nature. And while they may be to varying degrees dormant in our lives, they are also innate and can be reignited into bonfires of enthusiasm. From Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Oliver. Okay, so if we follow instructions 1, pay attention, and 2, be astonished, this will ensure good material for number 3, tell about it. For some, tell about it is the really easy part. We humans love to tell about it, especially things we are enthusiastic about. Give us a water cooler, a few friendly faces, and even the most quiet among us may share a yarn or two. Truth is, we love stories, the hearing and the telling. We are story creatures. Essential is telling good stories. It's important to be aware of what stories you are telling, to be aware of what you keep holding up and passing around. My advice, share what adds to, what lifts up. Share the joy and the wonder and the related heartbreak too. A little complaining is fine, but it is a powerful gift when most of our stories are rooted in our love for the world, in what fascinates and astonishes us. Social media has become an easy way for some folks to tell about what they saw, heard, tasted, smelled, felt, or sensed that moved them. Wonderful. I like the idea of amplifying Earth's beauty this way, of filling our feeds with images and stories of that which we love about the world. And let's use those like buttons to affirm the wonders others share with us. Something magical happens when we share and infect others with our joy, our good fortune, our awe and wonder. Once again, instructions for living a life. Pay attention. Be astonished. Tell about it. I believe that living out the role of witness, of celebrant, or storyteller is to fulfill one of humanity's unique roles in this world. And as such, it connects us with a greater sense of purpose and feels very much akin to coming home. In closing, I've seen these wild geese that Mary Oliver speaks of right over my own head, you know. They move right through these parts every year still. Just this past winter, I heard them making a big fuss overhead, honking as if there was a traffic jam up there among the winds. They gathered above, a small group from the east, another from the west, mixing with others from points more northern, all right overhead, enough so that I thought a hat would be appropriate. They called and honked loud and with an intensity that felt indicative of importance. Were they negotiating? Information sharing? Was it all just an enthusiastic greeting? What was clear was that as they circled and honked, there was a convergence occurring. From various directions, a great coming together. Within but minutes, where once there were just 6 or more, now a skein of dozens flew. After circling and calling out a short while longer, they seemed to find a commonality, a consensus of their inner compasses, and together headed to southern homes and warmer days. Thank you.